All right. All right, so I'm just playing the blues right now here. All right, so I'm gonna stop the jam. I did just bounce that, by the way, and that's just the normal one. I want to do an elongated one where everything sits there twice as long. Let's see. If I go to Logic and I duplicate this, bring it over here, turn off the loop, like so. So my thinking is, what is 12 bars will now become 24, and it will take me a couple minutes to do this. But the idea is, let's see, one. Let's see, that's 12. Oh wait, is that 12? I don't know. Let's see. It needs to go a little further, I think. So instead of starting with, I think that's right. What's this? And then it would go back to, okay. So, there's no good way to do this. I could elongate it, but it would be like boom, boom, boom. And I want the pulse to stay the same. So basically what I'm going to do is take the file and just highlight everything. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, there's that. Anyway, I'll do this later. But I'll just show you an example of what the first bar would sound like. So then I duplicate that, and so it's going to sound like, right? And then I'll go to the 4 chord for 2 bars. Okay? So all I'm doing here is I'm just moving everything except that last bar there over 1, and then I'm just duplicating that 2 bar, or the 4 chord bar. So now it's going to sit on the 2 chord for. See that? So it's still going to be the exact same blues progression, but it's going to be spread out over 12 bars instead of spread out over. Spread out over 24 bars. Oh, okay. I got that, Bruce. I gotta monetize this too. Edit. 32. Monetize. Yes. On. Done. And then skippable video ads. Yes. Not skippable. Sure. Save. All right. Oh, and I have to go to the other one too. Where do I have that open here? Oh, and I'm late just because stupid Google logged me out of my account. And then it wouldn't accept my password. It was like, what is going on? So let's see. I've got to go and get rid of those ads, I think, right? It'll say, oh, there I am live. Look at that. Cool. Okay, monetization. Yep. Look at them all. A million ads. Delete. I'm deleting them all. Sorry about that. For anyone who watched, what was that, Monday's lesson? That I didn't do that. I didn't put a frickin' million ads in there. That is Google's doing. So I changed it now. Sorry about that. I try to log in and do it later in the day, but it won't let me because it's still, it's still getting the video ready. So let me see. Okay, let me say hi. Who we have? Ed, Bruce, Dennis. Good evening, Dennis. Charlie B, good to see you. John in Kentucky. Jim Horst, good to see you. Reed, hey, good to see you. Long time no see. Let's see. Glad to hear you're doing better, Reed. Yeah, being a guitar teacher is fun. I always enjoyed it, obviously. David Sillers, you've been up all night and most of the day watching the you-know-what. Yeah, let's not talk about that. Although it pretty much turned out how everybody thought it was going to turn out. So there's no surprise there. Like the stock market shows that. Okay, so the thing we did a couple lessons ago, and I'm going to go back to the. Let's see, get rid of this. Okay, so I'll finish elongating that. I did do a bounce of the regular blues here. I did do a bounce of that. So I will upload this one and then the other one, the elongated one. So you'll have both of them to jam with at some point. I'll upload them to YouTube, okay? So the thing we did, if you remember on, let's see, was it Friday? I showed you the little tritone thing. Okay, this is a tritone, but it's also the guide tones, two different words. And the guide tones are the third and the seventh of any seventh chord. So you can imply, and let me get rid of that bass. You can easily imply, all you need to imply with just the third and the seventh. The bass player is going to play the root if you have a bass player. If you don't have a bass player, you might want to put the bass note in there. But if you do have a bass player, you don't need to. And there are the guide tones for the C chord, the guide tones for the G chord. And G again. So I'm just at the third and fourth fret. Guide tones for the D chord right here. Down to the C chord down here. Second fret. Back up to the third fret. And up to the fourth fret. And the guide tones are the third and seventh of each chord. So here I have an F and a B. Now I have an E and a B flat. F is the seventh of G and B is the third of the G chord. E is the third of the C7 chord, and B flat is the seventh of the C7 chord. We get up to D, and we got F sharp and C. Down to C. Okay, now that's just a little refresher of what we did. On Friday. If you look at the diagram here, if you look at these diagrams, these are all three of the scales written out in second position, meaning our first finger is assigned the second fret. And there is a little bit of movement with the C Mixolydian. We have quite a bit of movement back and forth. With the D Mixolydian, we don't actually. And the D Mixolydian scale is identical to the G major scale we learned a few weeks ago. Exact same notes. What I did there, the red notes are the roots, the black notes are the notes between the roots, and if there are so the red note in the G Mixolydian, the lowest G is here and the highest G is here. So we really only have, in this position, we only have one note that's above or below those two Gs. And that's why it's in white. Okay, the C Mixolydian, this is the lowest C in this position, this is the highest C. If we went up here, we'd have another high C, but that's not in this position. So if you want to play a C Mixolydian scale in its entirety, from root to root, that's the way to play it. And then the D Mixolydian, same thing. You start here, there's your D, and we only have two Ds here in this position. And this is the lowest D, and this is the highest D. So I wrote the scale between the two Ds. And again, that Mixolydian scale should, until you get to the 7th note, should sound like a major scale. Do, re, mi. Ooh, that's where it changes, right? Normally it would be, right? Okay, so there's a lot of, a lot of fun stuff you can do within the Mixolydian scale. And then, so what we did on Monday was we just looked at 2 snippets of this scale. The notes on the, or just one snippet of each scale, which is the notes on the 4th string and the notes on the 3rd string. And we could have even done one string at a time, but with this way you get to see change. So if we play the notes on the 4th string and the 3rd string of the G Mixolydian, we have 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret. Almost sounds like a C scale. That is because C major is the relative major to G Mixolydian. G Mixolydian is the 5th mode of C major. Okay, which is why it wants it. 5th, the 5 always wants to resolve to the 1. But that's what's cool about blues is none of the chords resolve to each other. They're all like, wait, what? That's not a 1 chord. That's a 5 chord. That's not a 1 chord. But look, another 5 chord. It's just nothing but 5 chords. So it creates tension. Again, tension is what music's all about, tension and release. And in blues, technically, I guess they don't ever, when you finally end on the last chord, you're ending on what is that, a dominant chord. You're ending on the 5 chord. So, okay. But if we look at this little snippet, we can see our tritone. It's right there in the middle. Okay, you see that? And if we also notice between the G Mixolydian snippet, okay, just those 2 strings, and the C Mixolydian snippet, I'm saying snippet way too much. I had a band in high school called Snippet. Cheers. Tom and the Gang. Yeah, it's not a very good band name. So the only difference between G Mixolydian and C Mixolydian is that in C Mixolydian all the B's are flatted. So ergo, and then if you look at the C, if you want to try to find that tritone in the C Mixolydian, it's down here on the 2nd fret. Okay. The thing I want to try to get to today, we're going to keep working on the snippets, or working with the snippets. And we've talked about this before. When I did the series on soloing, I told you when you're soloing, there's a million different forks in the road. One is are you going to play over the key or are you going to play over the changes? And if you're playing over the changes, one of the things you can do is you can play over each individual chord, or you can play through the changes. And so knowing the difference between a G Mixolydian and a C Mixolydian, that the only difference is this one note, is a way that you can really highlight that change. And that's where you're, instead of playing, okay, G chord, and now C chord, Okay, G chord. You know, so you got a bunch of G licks and a bunch of C licks and a bunch of... No, where it gets interesting is where you can take that transition and point out those differences between those two chords. Okay, so for example, I'm just going to highlight the first two bars of the blues. So we've got a vamp here, and I'll put the piano back in. So we got G to C. G, C. So here's the... Just play that B natural over the G, and the B over the B flat over the C. Now you can play B flat. The B flat gives a blues sound to the G. And it works over both chords. But it definitely creates a tension, and it's not Mixolydian. Mixolydian would be a B natural. See that? So that's how. So what I'm doing there is I'm playing. I'm really highlighting the difference between the two chords or between the two scales, and that way you're not just going. You're not just playing a lick over G and then a lick over C and a lick over G. You're actually it would kind of be like stopping halfway through a sentence. It would be like if I were to say something like that. Instead, when you're playing through a change, you're actually continuing a conversation through. If that makes any sense. It doesn't really make any sense. Hey, Max, how's it going? Mike Gardner's here, and I know he's going to knock on my door. He's going to want to talk to me. And it's like, I need a search. Can any of you, is there a way to have one of you jump in here? Can I invite one of you to join me? I wish I could. That would be cool. What are my options here when I click on Bruce? I can report you. I can remove you. I can put you in a timeout. I can hide user on this channel. I can remove as moderator. I'm not going to do any of this. I could pin you, but that's not going to get me. So that's not going to do anything. Forget that. Never mind. Okay, Bruce, don't worry. I'm not gonna put you in a timeout. So yeah, so that's the. Well, I know what I can do. I can put the jam on, and you guys can practice while I go talk to the gardener. In fact, I can even put it on the slower one because I've already done that. So I can do the first two. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear this or not very well, but get your guitars out, and I'll go talk to the gardener. So we're gonna have 2 bars of G and 2 bars of C. So be patient. See that? If you just go between the B and the B flat, I'm fine with that. Just to help kind of really nail in your head and in your hands the difference between the G Mixolydian and the C Mixolydian. You could also go just that string. See that? So I'm going to leave for a second. Everybody take a sip. I'm going to go talk to I'll turn this up so you can jam. I'm going to take a sip. I'm going to go pay my gardener. Hold on. it yet? Well, let me stop this. All right, I can turn it down now. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. Was that just like distortion? And I got more followers. Hilarious. I got more viewers. I got like, it went up 5. Wait a minute. That's the secret. Just let the jam track play and leave the room. Hilarious. Oh, Rick, you don't have a guitar. You don't have a guitar in your hand. Dang it. Pants are confirmed. Yeah, that was close. Might not have happened. At least I changed my shirt. Paul Meyer's in the house too. King Kahlo, good to see you. YZ, cheers from Israel. Great to see you. Yeah, I always get philosophical on this time of the season, the election season. I always say, look, it has a far greater effect on your life, how you treat your neighbors and your friends and your spouse and your kids and your parents, than who's in the White House. So it really doesn't matter who, ultimately in your life, and it doesn't change eternity one iota. So. Now, there's obviously a lot more fun stuff we can do within the Mixolydian scale, the Mixolydian scales and these snippets. Hey, air quotes, so we can take a sip. I got a full cup right now, so I may do a lot of things to. But the so what we just did there was you were playing over the G to the C. Okay, so we were going back and forth between G Mixolydian or a snippet of G Mixolydian and a snippet of C Mixolydian. And we were even using a snippet of a snippet. We were playing, even if you kept it to one string, that's totally fine. You could even keep it to one note. Play the note that changes. The note that changes between G Mixolydian and C Mixolydian is the B. In G there's a B, and in C there's a B flat. Okay? And that's... in both of them are guide tones. In G, the B is the third of the chord, and in C, the B flat is the seventh of the C7 chord. So it's even more effective because it's one of the guide tones, and that's going to be the case with the D Mixolydian as well. We're going to have a D and an F and an F sharp. So when we have that, when we go from G Mixolydian, we have an F in it, and we go to D Mixolydian. What we're gonna spend a little bit more time on the G to C change right now. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and hit this. Use a tritone thing. You can use your first 2 fingers if you want, just these 2. Make it musical. Sorry, I cheated. Okay, I just played the B note. Maybe we did 3rd finger. 2nd finger on the B flat. B natural. Sorry, I don't think Gardner's too loud. Now let's go B C. Same thing with B flat C. Space. Goes to the C chord. Back to B. Flat. Let's go to A, B, C, B. Again. Now back. Flat that B. go backwards. C. Yeah. C, B, A, B. C, B, A, B. C, B flat, A. Back to the B. Let's go to the roots. G, B, C, flat. You can sing. You can, Rick, with your air guitar, you can match me with your voice. So what I'm doing is I'm doing the root of each chord, and I'm going to the B note, whatever it is. B natural over the G chord, and then B flat over the C chord. Sorry, I'm getting too loud, aren't I? Breaking up. Sorry, I don't have my. I can't see the comments. Okay, let me stop this for a second. All right. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm really just doing very, very minimal note choices, note choices over the G and the C, and I'm really trying to make it just highlight the change that's happening, the difference that's happening between a G Mixolydian scale and a C Mixolydian scale. It's also the change that's happening between a G 7 chord and a C 7 chord. Okay, remember a 7th chord has 4 notes, right? And a diatonic scale has 7 notes. So this might be a light bulb moment for some of you. So we literally have 4/7 of the note of the scale in the chord, okay, in the tonic or in the root 7th chord, and the diatonic notes are the ones in between. So in other words, a G7 arpeggio or G7 chord is G, B, E, F. So G, B, D, F. Okay, I touched my face. A COVID no-no. Okay, but if I fill in the notes in between, so if I play in between the G and the B, I play an A, and in between the B and the D, I play a C, and between the D and the F, I play an E, I get the G Mixolydian scale. Cool, huh? All 7 notes are right there. So it's actually, the chord is, like I said, the notes in the chord are a majority of the notes that are actually contained in the mode that works great over that. So, Serkan, let's see, Serkan. Hey, Serkan, Uslu. I'm totally messing that up, I know. Can you show us a Mixolydian trick over a pentatonic scale? Yes. Okay, that's not a bad. That's actually a pretty good on-point question for someone who just showed up. Okay, so let's look at, and we're kind of doing it. Okay, accidentally, we're kind of doing it. The pentatonic over the G. So I'm going to go back to just using the one chord. Okay, so I'm going to take the bracket. I'm going to close it. I'm just going to play, and I'm missing a bass note. I'm going to fix that right now. Where's that bass? Where did that bass note go? Oh, I see what happened. This bass note's too long. Okay. Oh, and that one is too. Okay. So now I should have a bass note. It won't disappear. Okay, so I've just got a G vamp here. Okay. Hold on a second, John. I'll get to your question in a second here. All right. So that's just a G. And one thing you could play over a G7 chord in the blues progression is okay. The notes in a G Mixolydian, G pentatonic are G, G minor pentatonic are G, B flat, C, D, F. Okay. Well, all of those notes except the B flat are in the G Mixolydian. So the one thing you can do to make it sound more Mixolydian, you've got that blues lick there, the 1, the 3, the 4, but it's a flat 3. Is you can go to that B natural, and that will give it a decidedly Mixolydian sound. You can add that note to every minor pentatonic scale you do if you're playing over the root chord. So for example, I can go up here. If I go to that B, anytime you hear this kind of lick, that's a combination of the Mixolydian with a pentatonic. So you're playing that B flat and that D at the same time, and then you're hammering on the B. So you get, here's a pentatonic. This is Mixolydian right there. Mixolydian pentatonic lick might be something like this. You hit the G, hit that root, the G on the 4th string, 5th fret. Lay down your 3rd finger, get that C and that E. That's a Mixolydian tone, not pentatonic. And then go to this, your 1st finger, and get the B flat and the D, and then hammer on that B natural. I like a lot is that one. So if you take the pentatonic, normally you would have an F here. You go down to the E, which is a Mixolydian tone. It's the 6th note in the scale. And you play that, and then you play your B flat, and then you bend it up or hammer it on. And I would call that kind of a Mixolydian pentatonic hybrid. Okay. Okay, so that, try to answer your question there. All right. John, I think I know what your question was about. Let's see. If I understand the correctly, the tritone flat 5 note B is from C Mixolydian. The note is B flat in C Mixolydian. And F, it's relative to F. Yeah, and John, I would try hard not to try to worry about the relative majors of these Mixolydians. I would just think of them as their own thing. I think it will, because the reason we're using a C Mixolydian there is not because I'm thinking I'm in the key of F. It's because I'm playing over a C7 chord. Okay? It's a perfect example of how I'm changing my scale to match the chord I'm playing over. I'm not changing the scale to match the new key. Which is true when you play blues and you got a G7 and a C7 and a D7. You're technically in 3 different keys, but I'm not really thinking that. I'm still thinking I'm in G. You still ultimately, no matter what you do, even over the D chord, which has an F sharp in it, that G note's still going to be fine. Still going to be safe. So you're still going to want to have that G tonality throughout your blues adventure. So yeah, but yeah, the B, let's see. So you say the tritone, the tritone thing is just a coincidence. It's not the root that's being flatted. So F to B, that is the tritone that naturally happens in the G7 chord and also in the G Mixolydian scale. In fact, it's a tritone that happens in any diatonic scale. Any diatonic mode will have a tritone in it. Okay. The difference between the in the case of the root key, because we're in the root key, which I've just told you not to think about, is C. It's the degree, the fourth degree to the seventh degree is always a tritone in any major key. But that, don't worry, we can take another sip because there won't be a quiz on that. Okay? Tritone happens naturally. We're not flatting anything. It already is a flat 5 interval, or a diminished, or a tritone interval. But I'm calling them guide tones. That's different than a tritone, okay? But in this case, our guide tones happen to be tritones. Guide tones, okay, are the 3rd and 7th of any 7th chord. Okay, tritone is an interval, also known as a flat 5. Okay, does that help, John? Hopefully. I think part of your problem, John, is you're really smart and you're wanting to analyze things and understand things from as many different angles as possible, which is actually part of my teaching method. My method to teach, especially in this context, you know, we have, what are there, 4 or 5 different ways that people learn. And that's why I feel like Holly really likes it when I just jam and I say, tell her what I'm doing, and I say, imitate what I'm doing, and she gets a lot out of that. And so, and that's kind of how I am too. I'm kind of I have to do it to get it. You know, I can, if I start to read a how-to manual, my eyes just glaze over. But if I just mess around with the software program or whatever it is, the pedal or whatever, I'll find what I need to find. I'll find what I got it for. I'll find what I want from it. But it, you know, and I may be missing out, always missing out. I mean, I know with Logic, I'm probably using 1% of its capabilities. Heck, with OBS software I'm using for this, I'm probably using 1% of its capabilities. If I just watch one tutorial on OBS, I probably go, I can do that. In fact, I was watching my friend Josh do his Twitch. My friend Josh Goodwin does a Twitch on mixing, which is really cool. So if you're interested in mixing pop records, check out Josh Goodwin's Twitch page. And he's not religiously on. There's not a specific time that he's on. But what he does is he'll pull up a mix, and he's got multiple cameras. So he's got a camera down on his hands. He's got, you know, the screen, so you can see multiple things. It got of course the text thread. I think he's got 3 or 4 cameras, and I'm like, dang, I could totally do that. I should totally start having more. We need a close-up camera for my hand. You know, I need to get like a little GoPro or something like that right here for my hand, so that when I'm playing. Hey, I have a question for you. Anyone knows this? Like my camera back there, the Canon, it's got a little mini USB thing that I can hook up. Is it getting a charge from that? Because if I were to use that camera, I know the battery would not last 2 hours. If I were to use it as an alternative, I would probably have to have, I don't know if there's a power out on it. Maybe there is, but I don't remember. Yeah, see, John, that's how you learn. So I get it. I get it. That's how you learn. Okay, thanks, Hexit, for jumping in. Hexit's been quiet this whole time. Okay, so I'll have to figure out, like, because if I were to use that camera as a second camera, maybe because there are times where I want to show the screen, things I'm working on. I'm sure there's probably one of these inputs is a power. This is headphone microphone, so that's not it. Oh no, that's the USB. Oh, there's 2 USBs. See, oh, HDMI. Okay, HDMI out. Okay, that makes sense. That's what I would be probably connecting to. And then audio visual out. So there's no power there. Yeah, so maybe there is no way to send power to it. See, that would stink because I'm pretty sure the battery on this will not last for 2 hours. I go pretty long on my... A GoPro might. So, anyway, that's... Thanks, Hexit, for jumping in. Oh, I can buy it. Oh, right. So I could buy an external power source that hooks into one of the 2 USB ports and then use the other USB port. It's a lot of work. Oh, man. So, since Hexit seems to be new. Oh, it should charge. Well, we'll try it. We'll see. I can see what happens with the battery thing. Let me see. I'm going to pull up the. I mean, I'll give it a shot. I'm happy to do that. I also need to get a bigger hub because I'm out of spots in my hub. Discord. Okay, so I'm opening the Discord. And I'm going to do a invite people link. So here's an invite to the Discord. If you're new, if you want to be part of the Discord, Discord is basically where oftentimes the discussion is sometimes continued or side. Somebody has a luthier question. I've never run it for 2 hours, so I don't know. I would hate to trust that it would last 2 hours. It's a Canon EOS T4i, so it's pretty old. I think I got it in 2013. It was new then. A dummy battery is needed. A battery that attached to the lower source goes into the compartment. Okay. Yeah, except the door has to close on the battery compartment for it to stay in. Hyperscape. Sorry, we're talking about cameras. I'm kind of a dummy when it comes to that, but an old DSLR with a dummy battery, Canon EOS 550. Yeah, I want to get a new camera. So it would be great because that camera's still great, but I wouldn't mind getting a better one. And then I'd have 2 cameras for when I create videos too. Uh-oh, we've got a troll. All right, sorry. No, that's not what I wanted. All right. Now I just removed him. Dennis put him in a timeout. I'm like, nope. I've seen this before. My daughter voted for my wife for president. She wrote in her name on the California ballot. Pretty funny. We're not talking about that, though. We've been bombarded with this crap for so long. That's the last thing we want to talk about. Last thing we want to talk about is politics here, because I want to make this a safe haven for everyone. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your religion is. I do care if you're a troll. And if you're a troll, I fully expect Hyperscape to show up as a different person. So get ready, Dennis. Don't bother with timeouts. Just go ahead and just block them. I'm fine with that. So I did put the Discord link, but I'm going to do it again because of our little troll. It got moved up really fast to the top. There's the Discord. Okay. So now there were the 2 questions. I hope I gave you a cool lick or 2 there, Sirkan. And then John, I understand where you're coming from. Okay, you like the information. I know I've had other Avito I haven't seen Avito yet, but Avito is always looking for that silver bullet. And sometimes there's a thing that's like, oh yeah, by the way, if you just do this little trick. I talk about that with pentatonics. I feel like pentatonics, you can move the pentatonic scale around over one chord, and it'll, just like I can take a note like, I can move one note against an A7 chord, for example, and I get all sorts of different sounds out of it. You can do the same thing with a whole scale, and a whole scale moved up a whole step or down a whole step will have a completely different effect over that chord. We talked about that a little bit in the pentatonic realm. But okay, so now let's again, if you look at the snippets, and the snippets are the middle two strings, okay? Oh, you better go do your test. Oh yeah, Beth has been doing that. Well, she's not a big test giver. She does more work stuff. She doesn't like tests so much. Tests are easy to cheat on, but like group work and things like that they have to turn in, that's harder to cheat on. Projects, things like that. Online especially. That's what she's talking about. So the snippet of the G Mixolydian, let's go over that again, is 2nd fret on the 4th string, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5. Backwards, 5, 4, 2, 5, 2, 3, 2. Okay, there's the G. The C was this. 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5. So it was symmetrical or redundant. And if you want to play them both, play them back and forth, you can go G Mixolydian, up and down, and then yeah, and also on the Discord, there's also on the Discord there's a Tom's Bookmarks, I think it is, that has all of my diagrams. So like the diagrams you see right here, those are all up there, but all of them. And any paperwork I did, I scan it, I put it up there. So that's all up there. If somebody wants to go in, Dennis, you're pretty tech savvy. If somebody wants to go and kind of promote this channel again on Reddit, somebody did that years ago, and I went from 800 subscribers to 1,200 subscribers in a day because somebody talked about me on Reddit. It's hard for me to talk about me on Reddit. They don't like that for some reason. Anytime I promoted my video, they take it down. So I don't know why, but I don't know how to really work Reddit very well. Or they just don't want you self-promoting. I'm not sure, but okay. So, but you can do that. That would be a potential exercise or warm up or something. But you could also go, like, say, go from G Mixolydian snippet to C Mixolydian snippet to G Mixolydian snippet to D Mixolydian. Almost like a finger twister. You know, like a tongue twister, but for your fingers. And I'm saying snippet way too much. So the D Mixolydian snippet is 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5. 5, 4, 2, 5, 4, 2. Again, it's redundant, so that's nice. Snippet in the bud, that's right. There's a band name. Okay. So let me, so here's what we're going to do now remember when we were going back and forth between G and C. Now the problem is I haven't done that part of the scale, the jam. Okay. So I'm going to go like this, get rid of this. All right. Where am I? All right, so I need to double the, yeah, oops, I'm missing one here. Drag this over 2 bars, duplicate these 2 bars. I may make some subtle change here. Maybe go like that, down an octave or something like that. Maybe take this one down an octave. Now I have 4 bars of G chord. it's going to go to 4 bars of the C chord. So what I'm doing is I'm elongating the standard blues progression. I'm doing all this in Logic, if you're wondering. So I got to drag those over. Sorry, I'm almost to the point where I've got a 5 chord, a 4/5 change. Once I get to that point, then I'll create a little like loop out of that, and we can practice changing. What we're going to do, remember we concentrated when we did the G to C. Okay, so then it goes. All right, so wait. So how much further do I have to go? Okay, so then it's so then I need 4 more. Yeah, here we go. But we actually made just the third string work for us. Okay, we pretty much just did the 3rd string, and now we're going to do the 4th string because that's where the difference between the G Mixolydian, which is G, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Did I say that right? And I'm going to move this over 1 bar, and I'm going to double this. Okay, so now if I go like this, I should have 1. So exciting to watch me. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that would be Gary's call. Gary's going to have to decide if a snippet is a snippable offense. Let's see. Oh, I should duo stream on Twitch. I can do that, huh? You're probably right. I should do that. And maybe Facebook. Yeah, you're probably right there too. Yeah. Let me look into that. How easy that is. Oh, I was spiking there and it dropped. Okay, so this is. There's the D chord. The G chord. Okay, so play this F right here. Now wait. Play the F sharp. 4th fret. See that note in the D Mixolydian? And there's the note that works over the. That's the change between the D Mixolydian and the G Mixolydian. In G Mixolydian, there's an F natural. In D Mixolydian, there's an F sharp. So here's the F natural for G. And again, both of them are part of the guide tone. This is the 3rd of the D7 chord, and this is the 7th of the G7 chord. Okay, let's make it musical. Let's add the G. Okay, you see that? Let's go E. Now I'm playing the snippet of the snippet. guide tone, so the you can even play this chord. Kind of gnarly, right? Now, if you're feeling up to it, let's play the whole. It's funny because I'm hearing the D chord is the 1 chord. It's really the 5 chord, so it's weird. I'm gonna stop and start again. La 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 blah 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 blah. Okay, reset my brain. Okay. Hey, Jan, what's going on? There's the snippet, and then here. Okay, 2, 4, 5, 2, 4, 5, 2, 3, 5, 2, 4, 5. It doesn't sound good to sit on that C note with a G Mixolydian. C is cool over the D. Annoying. Not just my playing, but the chord progression. So I'm almost done with that chord progression. I've only got a little bit more to do on it, and I think it should be a 24-bar blues, which will be great because it'll give you a chance to kind of elongate, to sit on the scale a little bit longer than, and I can do this, and then all I have to do is. So check it. I'll pull up. I'm just about done here. I'll pull up the whole thing, and then what I'll do is I'll loop it and make a 10-minute bounce of it to put up. Okay. Goes the C chord. Now back to the G chord. It's going to sit on the G chord for a long time. Now to the 4 chord. It's going to sit there for a long time. I don't know if I like it. I think this is going to mess you up if I do this. I've already bounced the other one. I haven't uploaded yet. I think it's better. I could do a slower version maybe, but I don't know if I like that elongated. I think that's going to jack you up for playing over the blues because then you'll be thinking, oh, how long am I playing? So I'm probably not going to do that one, okay? You live and learn. On the fly. All right. Sorry, Holly, if I'm going pretty fast on this. So here's the thing. If you look at the G Mixolydian scale as a whole, I mean, in fact, let me write them out, okay? I'm going to add a text here. G Mixolydian is G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All right. Hit OK. Let me move this around, make it a lot smaller. Okay. There's G Mixolydian. C Mixolydian is C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. All right. and then D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. All right. So those are the three scales we're dealing with if you look at them written. Oops, wrong thing to move. Center. Oh, weird. I'm off kilter here, aren't I? What's with the background? That's weird. Okay, fine. Dang it. I'm trying to move this thing, not that thing. There we go. Make it a little bit bigger. All right. So the top one is the G Mixolydian scale, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They all have the same formula. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. Don't worry about that. There won't be a quiz on that. Take a sip. And then the C Mixolydian scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B flat, C. And then the D Mixolydian scale is D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. Now, I could write these all starting on G, and that way you would see, oh, okay, I see what happens. The difference between C Mixolydian and G Mixolydian is the B is flatted. Oh, I see what the difference between G Mixolydian and D Mixolydian is the F is sharped, okay? I get that, Holly. The other thing that you can look at too is the difference between C Mixolydian and D Mixolydian, which there is a moment in the blues where you're going from C to D, you're going from the 5 chord to the 4 chord, right? In the last 4. Okay, right, kind of the turnaround. The last 2 bars of a 12-bar blues is technically called the turnaround. There's a lot of different ways. I should do a video series on turnarounds. But like, if you're going, that takes you back to the top. But there's a bunch of those kind of things you can do, and the difference between the C Mixolydian and the D Mixolydian is a lot more. There's 2 notes that get changed, not just one. So it's not quite as subtle, and you can see it in the snippet. That's why I chose the snippet. So why does it seem like a Seinfeld episode? Does he want the snippet, or does he not want the snippet? Okay. Does he like the snippet? I love it when Jerry says, I like Asian women. And Elaine says, that's racist. And he says, not if you like them. I thought that was pretty funny. Okay. So, let's see. The D Mixolydian is E, F sharp, G. The snippet is, anyway. E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. And then that F sharp gets put down to F, and the B gets put down to B flat for the C. So the outside notes don't change. You still have this kind of pseudo pentatonic shape on the outside. The one with a snippet, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's probably not a bad idea, huh? We could even do a side lesson on that at some point. Who is it? Try to think of some of the different turnarounds I can. There's a few of them. My brain has to. There's a few of them. There's guys that know a lot of them. I mean, but if you YouTube blues turnarounds, yes, exactly, Jeff. We're making subtle, nuanced changes to the parent key chord scale, which I would say in this case, if we're talking about Mixolydian scales, the G Mixolydian would be the parent one. And we're going to be, if you look at a blues progression, you're on a bar of G, a bar of C, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of C, 3 bars, 2 more bars of G. You're going to be on G more than anything else. Then you're going to be on C, the second most, and you'll be on the D chord, the 5 chord, the least of the 3. But one of the things that and that's the other thing we could practice going back and forth between the C and the D and the C, the 5 and the 4. That's a that's a part of the blues progression. A lot of people don't have a thing for. Don't really have a feel for it. Because what happens right after that too, it goes 5 to 4, then to right to 1. So it all happens so fast. That first bar, a lot of times you can play, the first 4 bar, it's a 12-bar blues, so you can break it into 2, 3, 4-bar chunks, right? And a lot of times you can play for the first 4 bars, you could just play a 1 chord, or in this case, a G chord for 4 bars. G7, you can go. Then you got the second 4, and it almost invariably is just a 4-1 chord. And then it's the third set of 4 chords or 4 bars is the busiest. To the 1, to the 5. So it goes 5, 4, 1, 5. So it gets pretty busy. Yeah, I think the reason a lot of times, and also I've seen with sometimes you don't go back to the 5 chord at the end, but the problem with that version of the blues is then now you've got 6 bars in a row of the 1 chord, and it's real easy to lose track of where the first bar is. And that 5 chord really gives you that 5 chord in the bar 12 of the 12-bar blues. Really gives you kind of a marker to let you know, oh, good, okay, here's one. Because it's easy to get lost. You get lost when you're in the middle, you get in that zone and you think you're onto something and you're seeking and destroying your perfect solo. And I do a lot of seeking and destroying my perfect solos. Then that's when that chord will kind of center you and get you reprogrammed. Oh, boom, here we are. This is the top. But yeah, a lot of people just play 4 bars of the 1 chord, whatever key you're in. And then if you want to break that up a little bit, then you get the 4 chord. Sometimes the 4 diminished, the diminished chord. And that would be more of almost like Stormy Monday changes, which are great changes. That one's almost I would call almost a jazz blues. It's got so many minor chords in it, minor 7th chords in it, stuff like that. Kind of gives you that 2/5 kind of sound in it. That's really great. And I often use the diminished chord. Take the 4 chord and just add your 2nd finger to create that diminished sound. So that way you're not playing two bars of the G chord. We could talk about. We can talk about maybe Stormy Monday changes. That would be a good one. Hey, I dropped a pick. Everyone take a sip. So if I drop the coffee, you have to take a pick. Now the thing is I have this axiom, or this. If you don't watch the pick when you drop it, it hides. If I were to drop the pick and stare at it, it drops right where I saw it. No, it didn't. It moved. So All right. That's enough lesson for today. I'm getting tired. Let me play a little bit using the chord progression. Not the elongated one. I'm going to just delete this. I don't think I'm going to do that. That doesn't make any sense. But I will do this one. So this one I already bounced. I haven't uploaded a video yet, but okay. No, it does not. Sorry. Now we're going to the 5 chord. And you can take these scales up an octave too. The snippet's right here. All right. Yeah, I had a story. I was trying to remember, what was the story? Dang it. I told Beth, I said, oh, I got to remember the story for tomorrow. And I can't remember it now. Halloween, there was no Halloween. Halloween was illegal in California. All of California was illegal. Los Angeles especially. So last year, first time owning a house in the apartment, we never got, because the apartment was locked, you couldn't come in. The only kids we got were friends of ours that lived in the building, and we'd give them candy, but that wasn't the same. So last year we bought candy, and I thought, oh, I bought, I don't know, I probably spent $40 on candy thinking I spent a fortune, and we were out of candy within an hour and a half or something. And they were just, it was just an onslaught of kids. This year we actually had three or four kids actually came to the door. That was it. People were, very, very few people were taking, were going out and doing that. And so there was nothing really to speak of. I'm trying to think. Saturday was also, Saturday night was Halloween. I was working at church, so I played service. We did acoustic this weekend, and we're going to do it again this next weekend. And we only play 3 songs in the service now. It's really pared down. Usually we would do like a prelude, and then 3 songs, then communion, then a 4th song, and then maybe an exit song. So we could play as many as 5 or 6 songs in a service. And so I would bring a bunch of instruments so that I was playing, Alex play acoustic and I'd play a bunch of things like mandolin, 12-string. I don't think I've used ukulele. I've used the bouzouki, the Irish bouzouki before. For songs in the key of G, it's great for that. Dulcimer. Let's see. This past weekend, I used my baritone, my acoustic baritone, my 12-string, and a mandolin. People really like the mandolin, so I generally will always use a mandolin on something. 2 of the songs were in B, so the 12-string I capoed at the 4th fret and played in the key of G, basically using G shapes. But the baritone, the open, it's down a 4th from guitar. So the baritone I just played like I was playing an open E for the song that was in B. So that ended up working. The first night, actually Saturday night, I played nylon. Anyway, I get home from church. There's really nobody here. We ended up having friends from church over for dinner because they weren't expecting any trick-or-treaters either. So I just wasn't sure. I just remember 4th of July when they said no fireworks displays, and LA was on fire with fireworks displays. Not literally on fire, but it was crazy, amazing how many people totally disobeyed. It was like this whole, it was like 1776 all over again. And I figured Halloween would be the same, but nah, it really wasn't. Nobody took, and I guess that's because you're kind of depending on someone else. Like, should I show up? It's one thing if it were just you, but it's up. You're involving other people with that. But fireworks, you can do a fireworks display on the street or in your backyard or whatever, and that's just between you and your family. So. Oh, you got 40 minutes before the missus comes home and watching you. You're watching me on. Oh, I see. You watch me on the TV. Okay, sorry, boy. That means I'm really big, right? Am I freaking you out right now? You're like, I didn't know you were that old. Let's see. Yeah, I touched my face, didn't I? Let's see. Yes, Jeff Height. Is it the fact that the 1, 4, 5 chords all have flat 7s and contribute to a lot of the slight changes? Yes, 100% true. Exactly right. All of the chords in the G, in a blues chord, when you're just using the 3, 1, 4, 5, if you're making them 7th chords, hey, Avito, I mentioned you earlier. You're going to have to go back now and watch it. But yeah, all 3 of those chords are technically the dominant chords in their relative major keys. And so there's technically, just by the chord existing itself in the blues progression, there's tension created. So that's kind of cool. That's part of the tension of the blues, the blues jam, is that it's got, the chords none of them are resolving. They don't ever resolve to their 1 chord. But it still doesn't mean that the 1 chord, the G chord, like in this case, the G in the G blues, the G chord doesn't sound right, Like if I go to the end of this, so I actually, have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 choruses here, okay? And I end the last one. So this is what I bounce. Here's the last chord. Oh, no, sorry, 5. And I end on a 7th chord. I could end on a non-7th chord, like if I were to end that on a non, like on just a major chord, I could do that. And get rid of that. Where's the 7th here? No, that's a 3rd. There's the 7th. Okay, so if I get rid of that, it would sound like this. I'll just play the last 2 bars. 5 chords. I'll do that. I'll leave it like that. I can rebounce it. And that does sound a little bit more resolved because it's going from a 7th chord to a major triad. But it's not necessary. You can still end on a 7th chord. In fact, how many times I always think of Hit Me With Your Best Shot, right? Where he, he ends on that D. I mean, I do that all the time. it just sounds like a blues ending if you end on this. You have the seventh, right? The whole song to me. It's just fun. So it doesn't. It does create tension. It's not technically a resolved chord. It's technically now you've just created a dominant chord that wants to resolve to its major, but that's not the reality of it. John. Oh, John Kindred. Hey, Rugby UK. From John Rugby UK. That's awesome. I can't. In fact, I need to text Cruz and see if he wants to do a lesson. He's been wanting to take lessons, and I've just been so busy. Yeah. So let's see. So what's the story? I cannot remember what the story was. That we were talking about something, and I've got to share that with the. I got to start. I did that a while ago. I was telling stories people want me to, and I told some stories I hadn't told you guys, and I texted them to myself, so they were on my phone. Oh, I'm so glad, John Kennan. Now, what are you mainly an acoustic guitar player or an electric guitar player? Well, I won't be talking about election stuff. No, we don't. I want this to be a safe space where we can all just hang out and talk about guitar and me. Talk about me. That's what this is about. And I'm not running for office. My grandfather was a congressman, though. For 8 terms, he was a congressman. You're mainly electric. Cool. Okay. Are you in a band? Are you an actual working guitar player? Or are you kind of a beginner? I have a lot of beginners on my channel because of my, my most watched video is the 7 tips for older beginners. So, yes, Vito, I'm trying to think of a story. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Sometimes I just need something. Okay. And one of the, John, I say this a lot, is one of the best things you can do is to jam, at least jam with another guitar player. Particularly, even if they're not as good as you, it's always good to play with someone better than you because you'll get better. But you can get better playing with someone not as good as you too. You can practice playing the blues for each other. That's right there. That's huge. But you'll be a lot more nervous. It's a totally different vibe jamming with another guitar player than it is with jamming with jam tracks. Let's see, something juicy like the jury story. Let's see, I told one jury story that did I tell you the one how I got out of jury duty? I mean, I told you the one about when I was on hold. That was a long time ago. That was when you actually called in, and there was a lady. That's funny. So the jury story where it was the train versus pedestrian, the freight train versus a grandma. The freight train won, but she was suing the freight train company. Because that's the one I told you. So if that's the first thing the story you heard, Rick, that's pretty funny. There's another one. I don't know that I told you, but I was like, so bummed because when you get called for jury duty, it doesn't pay anything. I mean, it pays like $15 a day. I think jury duty should be a 2-year mandatory sentence for any law school graduate after they get out of law school. Now that would probably mean that you would have a lot of liberal juries, which may not be good ultimately for verdicts. But what it would mean would be like if when I did do jury duty that one time on that one case, they literally spent one full day on jury instructions. And when I say a full day, it was like 5 hours. You get there, you wait for them to show up, and then you do like an hour and a half, and then they take an hour and a half lunch, and I'm like, can we just get this over with and just work through lunch or something? And then they come back and do like another hour and a half, and you're like, really? So it's pretty much just a waste of time. And so I think if you had professional jurors, you wouldn't have to do jury instructions. So that would shave a day off of every trial, which some trials, would be 2 days if you could shave off the jury instructions. Yeah, John, I've talked about reading music. I do have a video, let's see, hold on a second. I'll find that video for you because it's in my series on, what am I looking for? Playlists. I did a series of video. I'm still working on. I haven't done one in a while, but the business of making music. So anyway, I got called for duty again, and this was a gang murder. Okay, it was like a gang shooting, but it was a murder. Okay, so I have a. What? Oh, I can't just. Dang it! Why? Okay. Sorry. Hold on. Stop. Okay. I'm gonna share this. Yeah, this hugely unpopular video. I don't know why. It should be really good information here. But this is should you learn to read music? Okay. And I don't tell you that you should. I don't think. So I get called to jury duty, and it's funny because not funny, but there's another guy on jury duty. He had just done jury duty. He just got out of jury duty like 6 weeks before. I said, they can't make you do it 2 times in a row within 6 weeks. And he said, yeah, it was a federal grand jury, totally different. He said the nice thing about that though is they put you up in a hotel and it's like $75 a day, so it's a little bit better. But I was like, dang, you mean I could get called to jury duty twice a year? I mean, that's the one good thing about COVID. They're not really doing jury trials right now. So, I mean, think about it. Think about what a super spreader event a jury room would be. You got 12 people in a little room. Yeah, that's not going to work. So, hey, Gary, good to see you. Sorry. Yeah, this is story time. So I go, I'm in the jury pool. I'm doing everything I can. You learn tricks like, oh, gee, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay, but if we check in and see if we, call your name or whatever, but, you go to the bathroom, you take your time, and they call you, we already put a pool together, so we'll put you in the next one. It's like, you can sometimes kind of work it. Oh, I got to make a phone call. Okay, well, you have to leave the room to make a phone call. So you can kind of, but that doesn't really work anymore because then they hold you and they want you to, so they know that you're going to figure out tricks to get out of jury duty. So I'm in the big jury room and we're almost at the end of the day. I'm almost free and clear, and then they call my name. I'm like, dang it. And that's a double bad because you don't get paid for the first day of jury duty. You don't get paid until you're actually seated. And it's the end of the day, so now they're just starting selection, so they won't get to it by the end of the day. So you're going to have to come back in the morning, which is like, dang it. So now you got 2 days where you're not getting paid. And for me, when you're self-employed, it stinks because it stinks because I'm self-employed. I don't get paid if I don't work. So, particularly early on, I was struggling. If I had to cancel 5 students 2 days in a row, that could be, that could be late for rent or something, So, miss a car payment or whatever. I mean, they just don't make any accommodation for that anymore because they just assume everyone's lying. So they won't let you get out for that in California, especially in LA County. So I get called into the pool. They're putting the jury together, but of course they didn't seat it yet. So we had to come back the next morning. I'm talking to this guy. He's a writer for The Simpsons. He writes. It's funny because I think I just got on Twitter, and I think he was like one of my first follows on Twitter. And so they get me in the pool, and we're getting seated. Now it's like there's 14 of us in there. they go through, they start asking questions, and they eliminate someone, they bring someone else in, they eliminate. And they've eliminated 2 or 3 people, and they're allowed to eliminate, I think they get to eliminate 5 each or something, the prosecution, the defense. And it's the guy sitting there, the defendant has to sit there through all this. And a lot of times what they do, and it didn't work out this way because I talked to the guy later, he ended up going to a full trial. But a lot of times what they do is the defendant will get nervous once they start seeing the trial, and they look at the jury, and they'll go, oh yeah, this jury's going to hang me, so I'll plead down. But I guess the attorney for the defendant wasn't going to plead down. So they started naming all these names. They said, do you know this person? No. Do you know this? And they asked the whole room this, actually, so they didn't have to ask everybody individually. And it was half of the names were Latino names, which were members of the gang or people affiliated with the case, because it was a Latino on Latino murder. And then there was a bunch of other names that were just all different, and those were all cops. It was officer, somebody, and it was all races were represented there. So the Los Angeles Police Department is a majority-minority police department. In other words, most of the police department is made up of minorities. So they get to the questions phase, whatever, and the prosecuting attorney is asking me questions, and he says, so what do they ask you what you do for a living, they ask you where you live, they have your first name, your juror number, whatever, but they say, and I'm like, the guy's writing all this, the defendant is writing all this stuff down. I'm like, I'm not really comfortable with that. And the prosecuting attorney goes, so what do you do for a living? And I say, well, I play guitar for a living. And he goes, really? Do you have any Fender guitars? And I go, well, yeah. And now I'm thinking, okay, cool. If I have a love connection with the prosecuting attorney, the defense attorney is going to nullify me. He's going to go, no, we don't want this guy. And oh, that's awesome, Holly. Yeah, I got to move to a small town. I'm thinking about it. So so we start talking about it. He goes, well, as a matter of fact, I used to work at the Fender. I put myself through college working at the Fender factory. I said, oh, in Fullerton. He goes, yeah, in Fullerton. How do you know that? I said, well, I know where the Fender, that's, and I know about Fender guitars. That's cool. I'm trying to make it seem like we're buddies. We're like best pals, And then then he asked me, do you think you can judge fairly in this trial? And I said, no. And the judge, she chimes in. She's like, wait a minute. What do you mean, no, you can't judge fairly? I said, well, if I'm going to hear testimony and it's between the testimony of a gang member and a testimony of a cop, I'm going to go with the cop every time. I said, look, if it's between a cop and my son, I'm going to go with a cop every time. I said, they have a lot more on the line. If they lie or do something wrong, they're going to lose their career, their pension, all that stuff, right? They may end up in jail with the people they put in jail. A criminal, they just lie. That's what they do. They're never going to tell the truth. No trial ever has all people telling the truth. It's just not. That's what the jury's for. And then I said, Your Honor, if it's between your word and my word, I'm going to take your word over my word every time. And she got pretty mad at that, and I was just like, I was pretty done. I was like, I really didn't want to be there. And she goes, okay, get out of here. One of the jurors actually asked for private counsel, and apparently he said, yeah, I'm racist against Mexicans. He went back in the back and told them that he was racist against Mexicans, and they excused him. And I just thought, dang it. But then I actually had a second bomb I was going to drop, and I didn't, because then I would have, not only would I have, gotten out myself, I would have probably tainted the whole room, and the judge really would have been mad at me then. But I I was going to say something about the fact that the defendant was writing down everything we were saying, and it made me very nervous. And because that would have tainted the entire room. Because the implication there is that is that he would send his gang members after the jury members if they didn't rule in his favor. And so, like I said, I've served on a jury. I've begrudgingly done it. I've called in whenever I've had to call in and stuff like that. I always, if I get the notice, I don't circular file it. Yeah. See, the trials could be. I mean, it's funny because on my trial that about the one I told you about before, I think Rick said it was the first video he watched of mine. That one was the pedestrian versus the freight train. And I learned more about inertia and the fact that, even a train going 5 miles an hour can't stop immediately when it's got 300 cars behind it. So, I mean, I learned about physics. We spent literally a whole morning that way talking about that. And also, they brought the engineer up, and he was the one that had to slam on the brakes when she fell in front of the tracks, but there was nothing he could do. And I kind of felt like she did it on purpose, to be honest. She lost half of her foot in the process and was dragged away, so she could have been killed. But she'd lived literally across the street from that train tracks and crossed at that crossing every day for 19 years. So it wasn't like she didn't know, that the train wasn't coming. It was right there. She could see it clear as day. She just decided to run out and not wait, which I understand. You're an old lady with a bunch of groceries, and you got a 900-car freight train going 5 miles an hour, or a 300-car freight train going 3 miles an hour. I'd probably run across the tracks too. She just tripped. So anyway, but she didn't win. But that was a glorious thing. I think she got money anyway but the train company gave her money directly and didn't go through her attorney, who was a complete scumbag. I don't know what episode that was, what lesson that was, Bruce, where I talked about that. But yeah, that was pretty glorious when, and I was an alternate in that, so I didn't get to decide. And that trial went on for 8 days, I think, which was really frustrating because 2 of the days were spent with the jury not reading the jury instructions not reading like all 8 questions they had to answer. They started deliberating the first one, and it's like, and so they couldn't decide on guilt, and because it was the civil case, you only have to have, I think, 9 of the 12 jurors agree. And they didn't look further down, and they could assign percentage of guilt for the payout. So it was $1 million payout, but they assigned only 10% guilt to the train company. Then the train company would only have to pay $100,000. But they were stuck on it because everybody was, I think everybody was willing to say, well, sure, the train company could take 10% of the responsibility. And that's what they ended up doing. But the payout ended up being like $8,000. And so, that's definitely not, the lawyer's not making his wage. But he heard guilty and he was excited. And then he heard the amount and it was sad. I think that they had offered her, it was like, right, exactly right. Because they had offered, I think it was it $350,000 to settle that morning, because the train company lawyer was getting a little nervous that the jury was taking so long, which is usually not a good sign. But the defense attorney read the plaintiff attorney read it the same way, like, okay, this is going to come in our favor. And they were asking for like $6 million or something. So his share of that would have been, 40% of $6 million. He would have made bank. But that didn't happen. So, oh yeah, I don't know what the juice was, but let's see. John, yeah, you had a crash course in computer programming and on not what to do embezzled 98,000 pounds over 5 years. It took 6 days, one day, to decide he was guilty, and we all voted guilty and had no chance. He had no chance. Yeah, 98,000 pounds. That's just not. It's not. I guess if you think you're going to get away with it, probably for 5 years he thought he was going to get away with it. So yeah, that's about 20 grand a year. Some companies might not miss that. It's like in California, the law is if something is under $1,000, they won't. It's not even a felony if you steal it. So the kids know. They go into stores and they steal stuff that's like $990. Probably the store should just go ahead and put $1,000 on it, price tag on everything, and then say, well, you'll get the discount at the register. So here, it's $1. It's like you get a candy bar, $1,000 candy bar, really? $1, please. It's like, okay. But you get kids going into stores and just grabbing, $900 worth of merchandise and then leaving. So. Yeah, I haven't seen all the ballots. I saw Prop 22 pass, which is good. That's the one the stupid AB 5 that the legislature in California passed that basically made it illegal to be an independent contractor. Pretty much screwed over musicians and everybody, actors, videographers, journalists, but they were mainly going after ride-sharing companies, Uber and Lyft and Postmates and all that stuff. And those people don't want to have to work full time. They don't want to have their hours set by Uber and Lyft. They don't want, it's like they don't want to be taxi drivers. That's why they're driving for Uber and Lyft. So that ballot passed, that initiative passed, which was a good thing. Pretty overwhelmingly too. I think it was 58 to 42 or something. There was another one though that was going to get rid of bail or something like they did in New York City, which is a horrible idea. And I don't know if that one passed or not. They sell it like it's a very but it's just not fair. These poor people, they can't afford bail, and it's like, yeah, I get that, but the crime rate in New York City is skyrocketed because you've got all these criminals that are out. So yeah, Uber, Lyft. So anyway. Yeah, I know, right, Vito? So, all right, I'm going to sign off. And, yeah, sheesh. It's like, I think that's a Christian way of saying the S word. So, all right, I'm going to sign off. Yeah, it's almost been 2 hours. I will see you on Friday. We're going to continue to work this. We're going to. I may upload that video today with the blues jam, so you can practice your Mixolydian snippets or the whole scales or whatever you want to do. If you just want to practice your 2-note things or playing the changes, you can do that too. Okay. And I'm glad, John. I'm glad you learned a lot. That's why I'm here. Anyway, I'll see you soon, Friday, God willing, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.